Greetings, friends. David J. Coon with Qigong Awareness, a medical Qigong school, author of Qigong for Beginners, Your Path to Greater Health and Vitality, teacher extraordinaire, full of myself in a funny way. Uh, I'm here to be helpful today. That's my goal, okay? That's my goal with these episodes. That's my goal with the live Qigong classes I teach, the coaching that I do for people, the distance healing sessions, the in-person sessions. Been in this business now for a long time, approaching almost 40 years. And I really don't care about my history at all. I really I don't value it in the way that I once did. And I only talk about my past and the struggles that I've been through so that you can relate to where I am now. And I might be able to help you to shortcut yourself to a better place in your life. Because at this point in time in my life, I'm in a pretty good place, despite the chaos that's going on around me on the planet. And it's not because I got a bunch of money in my bank account and I've got food stashed in my basement. Okay, that's not going to be this video. That's not what I'm going to teach you or talk to you about. Okay. Um, But if we jump back about 37 years, okay, some of you know it, some of you don't. Maybe you're tuning in for the first time, but here's the brief overview, okay? Spinal disease. Doctors say, hey, dude, you're going to be crippled by the time you're 30 years old. I'm in terrible pain. I go from being an athlete, travel team, soccer, football, different sports, tried out for wrestling. That first year that I was diagnosed with scoliosis and was in terrible pain, had to quit all sports. At least I thought I did, and I kind of did. I kind of quit official sports, and that led me into martial art because that was my destiny. But aside from that, it led me into martial art, which didn't seem like a sport to me. And it carried me and has carried me for almost 40 years through a different kind of mental, physical, emotional approach to life. And Qigong, if you go back to the ancient history of Qigong, everybody has their own opinion, what came first, the chicken or the egg or whatever, right? But my eldest masters that I hold in high regard all speak to me about how Qigong practices in the beginning were for the purposes of healing and transformation and cleansing the body and staying healthy and so on. And somebody along the way figured out, hey, like this particular movement, if done with breath over and over again, that strengthens the body, we could actually make the body like steel, and we could actually use this for battle. We could actually hurt people with this. And without going too off on this part of the subject, because I could go off on a tangent on that side of things too, what's best? The Buddhist path, for example, is the path of, in general, nonviolence, passivity. As I mentioned in the last episode, sit back and practice meditation. Don't even really focus on your diet. And this is very old school Buddhism, may have changed some in recent years, uh, but the body's a big skin bag. I'm going to transcend it. I'm going to achieve a state of nirvana, and it isn't going to matter anymore. Along comes Bodhidharma. Bodhidharma brings the teachings of the Buddha from India, right? And he goes to bring this to China. They don't like it. He goes to the Shaolin Temple. And eventually, what ends up happening is the Shaolin Temple goes from being a sort of passive practice place, or a place of passive practice, to a place of active practice. There's also passive practices, but a lot of active practices to the extreme. Monks having bricks broken on their heads and, all kinds of different things. Monks smashing their head against concrete every day, making their skull super strong and so on. All right, where am I going with this? Where I'm going with it is somewhere in the middle, okay? I am a martial artist. I have black belts in different types of martial art, have practiced martial art almost, like I said, almost 40 years. Qigong practices saved my body. They saved my life. Practices of breath, practices of focusing the mind, practices of training the body, those are all done in martial art. But in various martial arts, the focus and the emphasis of qi or on breath or on the development of mind is sometimes lost and or watered down. Sometimes there's so many different schools, right? Some schools it's all about fighting. What can you do in the octagon? What can you do, if you had to ward off 12 people or whatever, right? So the school that I teach from and my primary school, my primary philosophy is one of spirituality, which is oftentimes referred to in some of the ancient works as enlightenment Qigong. It's essentially a form of Qigong where we emphasize on energy cultivation, but energy cultivation for what? To go out and bust people's, heads or protect my hand while busting somebody else's head? No, that's not my primary. My primary is how can you become more spiritual? How can you find a more enlightened state? How can you enlighten, which means fill yourself with more light? And in the process of filling yourself with more light, you heal. Those two in ancient times, they went together. If you filled yourself with light, like if you see Jesus with the glow around his head or the Buddha or whoever, that glow, or some other saint, maybe it's Mother Teresa or whatever, when you see that glow, that represents the light that that person cultivated. How did they cultivate that light? That's what I'm most interested in my life. And you'll see that if you look in my book, Qigong for Beginners, Your Path to Greater Health and Vitality, you'll see all these pictures of me sitting on rocks, standing in the river, and I'm turning into light. Why am I so fascinated by that? Because that enlightenment process, becoming filled with light, opening up my heart chakra back when I was 25 years old, having it bust wide open and leave me with a healed spinal disease that nothing else could touch: chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, cranial sacral, Traeger, all these different disciplines that couldn't touch, so to speak, the spinal disease, at least enough to make that change and make that dramatic difference that I needed. All of a sudden, boom, I have this major shift happening due to deeper Qigong, medical Qigong practices, yogic practices of pranayama, some deep healing work, and bam, the spinal disease is healed. Following the spinal disease, and I talked about this recently, panic attacks rising, fear rising. So look, where are we going to go with this today for this particular episode? So what I just described is my own story related to the human condition. In other words, many spiritual teachers talk about how human beings are journeying a journey, and one of the things that we all have in common about that journey is it's called the human condition. It's called the ego. Now, that opens Pandora's box. Even those words, Pandora's box, open up a gateway to a lot of different ideas about what that means. But in general and somewhat specific, ego is the idea of me as a personality, me as a body, myself and I, and it's all around me, and how I see the world and how I see things. And when you come from that perspective, that's not like a heart chakra perspective, okay? That's called first, second, and third chakra perspective. When you come from a heart chakra perspective, as I've described in some of the previous episodes, you come to the realization that you and I are the same. When I was younger, as again mentioned previously, but worth mentioning again, I was picked on. I had all kinds of different obstacles with people and so on, and challenges in my life. And that was one of the reasons I got into martial art, was to defend myself. But once I walked into an official martial arts school, I never got into a fight again. And the best part of martial art and the best part of that kind of whole path of Qigong, martial art, meditation, for me, is the practice of self-transformation and personal healing and personal growth and what is called, check it out, inner peace. Notice the Buddha and others didn't talk about outer peace as much as they talked about inner peace, because the Buddha achieved a great state of inner peace, as did Jesus on the level that he did. In my opinion, he achieved a great state of inner peace. The world was still chaotic. So the world's still chaotic today. The Buddha achieved a great state of inner peace. The world is still in chaos. Jesus achieved a great state of inner peace. The world is still in chaos. Lao Tzu achieved a great state of inner peace. The world is still in chaos. So what I've learned over time is that I can achieve a greater state of inner peace, which I have. And oh my God, by the way, for whatever it's worth, okay, I honestly did not think I would achieve this level of inner peace, okay, for lack of better words, lack of better description. I really did not believe I would achieve this state of inner peace and healing until I was in like my 70s, 80s, 90s. And I did believe that one day I would achieve it, but I honestly didn't realize that it would start coming in my 30s. I really didn't realize it was going to start coming so soon because of the practices that I was doing. Once you achieve that degree of inner peace, it's not like I've arrived. I mean, maybe there's some enlightened beings like the Buddha or Jesus. Maybe they achieved a state where they were fully enlightened and nothing ever bothered them anymore. I don't know, okay? I'll say it like that for today. I probably have some other stories about that, including Jesus being nailed to the cross, and some masters referring to him not being in pain while he was being nailed to the cross. But we'll save that for another day. So maybe these enlightened masters, maybe they achieved a state where, hardly anything bothered them anymore. It's like the Dalai Lama talks about that. He's like, when I hear about my people suffering and I get upset and so on, I take it back to my cushion. I sit on my cushion and I meditate until that suffering goes away. Okay. And so that's a level of inner peace. That's something that I also have, but I also have to ongoingly work for. But if I compare it between now at 50, almost 53, in comparison to say 15 or 25, oh my God, it's like light years beyond where I was. So I just want to leave you with this one idea for this particular episode, and then I'll come back and share some things with you in the next episode. This one, I'd just like you to really meditate and contemplate this last idea that I put forth. If inner peace was possible for you, which of course I believe it is, if it was possible for you, would you want it? That's the first question. The second question is, if you knew inner peace was possible and that you could attain it to some degree, not to say you could attain it and arrive and you'd never have to practice for it, because that's not what I'm going to teach you, but that you could achieve it, and then whenever you lose it, I can teach you practices to go back and regain it, okay? If you know you can do that you can have inner peace, and that when it goes away, you can go back and you can practice again to reattain the inner peace, but you achieving inner peace does not mean that everyone around you is going to have it. So, if you knew that you could have it, but you couldn't give it to everybody, and that not everybody would be interested in your inner peace or the inner peace that you're selling or toting or touting or wearing or experiencing, that not everybody around you would be interested in that. And there will still be people who will fight in front of you, who will try and fight with you, who will try and steal your inner peace, who will not like you anymore because you have a little bit too much inner peace for them. It bothers you that you're centered and that you have a place to come back to. Would you still want it? If the answer is no, okay, and I'm guessing if you listen this far in the video, it's probably a big yes. But if the answer is no in any way, don't watch the next episode. Just don't watch it. Okay, don't watch it. Go do something else. But for those of you that actually want inner peace, want to discover inner peace, and you understand that inner peace does not mean that you're going to make everybody around you peaceful, but inner peace does mean that you have a greater quality of life, and that your body is in less pain and suffering, you're in less emotional suffering, and it puts you in a much better position to be the change, as Gandhi said, that you want to see in the world. It gives you the opportunity to be that and exude that, and anybody who wants to take notice, well, that's their business. And then later, if you want to make a video on inner peace or whatever the thing is, maybe a few people will tune in and you can help them. But again, not everybody's going to come. Not everybody's going to go along. So if you'd like inner peace, if you want to work on that, come see me in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. I'm David J. Coon with Qigong Awareness. I'll see you very soon.